Hello and welcome back to the Dugout podcast. This is episode number 100. It is the century, and quite fitting that it is after the final games of the season. The football season and club football has officially concluded as we look forward to the summer and the World Cup. This is the second time we've had to record this introduction, so it's a little bit out of order. We've still got the good content. We spoke about the Scottish Cup final that is coming up soon. But yeah, this so it might look a little bit dodgy. But of course, I'm always joined by my co-host Ethan Barlow. We're going over the Scottish Cup final, the playoff final, and the final day of the SWPL. Ethan, second time I've asked you this, but how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, no, I'm doing good. The weather was excellent. I was telling you right before the first recording, and I'll include it here again that it was a tropical night last night. It was that warm, so excellent weather again today, and really getting into the spirit of the World Cup summer, which is just around the corner now. Just over 2 weeks until the opening game, which is Mexico hosting South Africa, and then a couple of days after it'll be Scotland against Haiti in Boston, of course. So really looking forward to that. We've got some big games to come before that in terms of club football, in terms of the Champions League final, which we'll give our prediction for, I think, at the end, as well as maybe our thoughts on Scotland's friendlies, or friendly, should I say, against Curacao on the same day.
Okay, so that's that. And now here is us speaking about the Scottish Cup final. We hope you enjoy.
Yeah, and then Neil Lennon made four changes to the starting 11 from that defeat for Hull. One included the goalkeeper, Aston Oxborough, coming back in after he was recalled by Motherwell for a game, which I thought was quite poor by them to take him out of such a massive game for Dunfermline, which ultimately you could say contributed to them not making the playoff final. And the other ones were Abdullahi and Oakley Booth coming into the midfield, and John Todd joined his brother in the starting 11 and the back three. And unfortunately, probably you would say makes the error for the first goal when Alistair Johnson plays it over the top, and he sort of misreads the flight of it, and then Daizen does and 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. And when we've seen him sort of missed these chances so many times. He was cool and lifted it over the Oxborough, and a really nice finish from him. His seventh game running with a goal, 11 goals and assists in that time, and just what an excellent end to what looks like the conclusion of his Celtic career. I seen his sort of reaction after the game looked to be of a player that was leaving the club. The supporters held up a banner saying Arigato Dyson, and yeah, it looks like his um, sort of fairy tale, you could say, at Celtic has ended in the best possible manner.
In this back half of the campaign, he scored in all the big games. He's shown up in the big moments. Probably the Celtic fans will thank him for that, but also probably for adding a couple mil on his price tag as well. Because I think he was leaving either way, but this way he's made himself look like a more of an attractive asset to bring to another club. So Celtic could probably get an extra few million out of him. It'll be sad to see him go for the Celtic fans, but I think it is time for him, and he's signed off with a wonderful run of form, um, a world class goal, special moments for the fans that they will remember forever. Won a league and cup double, so not too bad for Dyson Maeda and his sort of swan song at Celtic.
Yeah, certainly, and obviously there's a World Cup to be played as well, in which is well, a former Japanese Celtic hero is obviously the manager now of the national team. A bit of strange circumstances how that came about, but so that he'll be, oh, I think
Really,
maybe
I've not seen that.
Shinsuke
Nakamura,
Nakamura's
Japan.
the Japan manager. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, unless I've completely been swindled by a fake tweet, which I don't think I was, because I'm pretty sure I verified it at the time. that he took over charge, which was a bit strange. Um, let me see. Let me double check this here.
Says it's Hajime
Yeah,
Moriyasu, sorry.
let me see. Um, All right, sorry. Assistant manager then. Right, okay. Yeah, the thing I seen said that he was replacing the manager, and I thought that was a bit strange based off Japan's recent form. Um, so yeah, he's the assistant manager, so he's a part of the coaching staff, but not the gaffer, so to say. But point still stands. He'll want to help his old club get a good fee, as will Daizen Maeda when he does move on. You'd imagine throughout the summer, and obviously only 1 year left in his deal, so that'll play into matters as well. And then Celtic get the second goal. Really poor from a Dunfermline point of view. You just can't let players of Arne Engel's quality shoot from there. We've seen that he has got a strike in the past, and when you leave him that much space, then he's going to have an effort, and he catches it well enough. Maybe Oxborough could have done better, but I think he was maybe sort of blindsided or by his defenders. Didn't have a good view of it, but you would have expected him to at least die for it, I think.
I think as well though it was the movement and the power of the strike. It's really really weird looking, satisfying looking goal, but a weird looking goal. And yeah, obviously Oxborough was sort of standing there like a statue. But yeah, I don't think you can blame him too much. You think the blame has to go more on the defenders leaving the space, because it wasn't as well. It wasn't like a curler or like bending it around defenders or anything or through a crowd. He just had a straight shot right at the goal, and fantastic finish from Arne Engels. But you got to have some bodies in the way there.
Yeah, exactly that. And his seventh goal of the season, third from open play, and I think he said after the match, and he said after last season as well, that that's something that he needs to add to his game, scoring more goals, and I think he's certainly capable of it, whether that be at Celtic or elsewhere, as sort of rumours have suggested in January, and I think this week as well. Some other rumours suggesting that he won't be at the club beyond the summer. I think Dunfermline had a fair sort of go at it at the start of the second half. I think Neil Lennon realised that maybe the changes he made weren't too effective, the change of shape and stuff like that, and he had to change something at half time to try and get the Pars back into the game, and I think he did that with a triple sub at half time. Ultimately, didn't have anything to show for it, unfortunately, and then one of Celtic subs wraps up the cup and Kelechi Iheanacho. He did have the ball in the net initially, set up by Yang, but it was the South Korean winger was offside in the build up. But then he did score a really classy goal. Just takes it round a few Dunfermline defenders, shows his composure, and rounds off an excellent campaign for him individually. In terms of, I think, what Celtic fans expected of the signing when he arrived, and I think a lot of Celtic fans calling for him to be signed up for next season. And if he can become fitter in the close season and get to a level where he can start games, he could be a massive sort of asset and player for Celtic. Not in terms of a sort of selling him on or anything at his age, but in terms of helping them to defend their double next season. Although even contributing off the bench, I still think he'll be someone to keep around the club. And then Dunfermline did get a goal, but ultimately just a consolation when Josh Cooper's come off the bench to score with 10 to play. But as you said, the top of the show, it was a pretty easy afternoon for Celtic, and Neil Lennon would have known, and I think he said in the build-up that his team are always going to go into this match as second favourites, but I think they would have wanted to put Celtic under a little bit more pressure, and they just didn't throughout the 90 minutes, apart from that sort of small flurry at the start of the second half. So that'll be where the disappointment comes for Lennon, but a good season on reflection, getting into the playoffs, and of course that Scottish Cup run to the final.
Yeah, absolutely. though you can't discredit what the Finland have done this season. I'm sure they'll build and probably make a good go of it again next season in the Championship. However, if our good mate Robbie Collins, Robbie Rance, has his way, he will be in the St Mirren dugout. So there's been no rumours as to that yet, but Robbie really wants him. Ethan, that would definitely be an interesting managerial appointment, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be, and that was one that was obviously linked at the time when Stephen Robinson first moved to Aberdeen, and then Craig McLeish got the opportunity and took it at the time. You would have to say to manage to get the backing until the end of the season, and yeah, it was a sensible appointment at the time. Maybe since then it hasn't seemed that way for St Mirren. We'll obviously get on to that, but you could say it all works out in the end for them. So obviously a good end to the season for Celtic, despite it looking for much of it that it wasn't going to be. Their 43rd Scottish Cup. They've now won 7 of the last 10, which is remarkable running, extending their record as the most successful club in that competition and in Scottish football as a whole, of course. And yes, I've got a little bit of a trivia question that I was going to throw in earlier. It doesn't really work as too well now, but you should be able to get it. James Forrest got his first start since the opening match of the split in this game. He scored the winner the last time these two teams met in a 2-1 extra time League Cup win in 2019 at Celtic Park. Who was the Celtic manager then?
In 2019,
Yeah, August
Neil
2019.
Lennon.
Yeah, it was Neil Lennon. So there you go. Funny game, football, small world, and all that, and all those things. But no, I'm ready. I think that's everything from this game, unless you've got anything else to say. And on to the playoffs.
No, just congratulations to Celtic and congratulations to Martin O'Neill. Been terrific. Talks of a statue. I was listening to the STV Radio Football Show and I agree with Ronnie Charter's take. They should give him a stand. There's a stand available to be named. Name it the Martin O'Neill stand. Just absolute legend of the club. I don't know if you agree with that, Ethan.
Yeah, no, I think he's certainly nearing or in that sort of upper echelon of Celtic legends where he does deserve a sort of stand, possibly, or certainly a statue. I think so. Yeah, the discussions will be had, but I think Celtic in the immediate need to focus on getting a manager in for next season, whether that be a Neil or somebody else, and obviously recruiting properly because
Yeah.
if reports are to be believed, it looks like the other two title contenders from this year are certainly being active already. So yeah, Celtic will need to get their work done.
Yeah, and we will be discussing that later in the video. But now I think it's time to move on to the discussed previously St Mirren and Partick Thistle for the Premiership playoff final. So now we know all 12 teams that will be in the Scottish Premiership this season, and St Mirren prevailed after a 1-1 draw at Firhill. I always get that confused. I'm always conscious that I'll say Firhill or Fir Park. But a 1-1 draw at Firhill with Partick Thistle. They went back to the Smiza or St Mirren Park and they came away with a 1-0 win. In the first leg, I think Partick Thistle were maybe unlucky not to come away with the win. They didn't capitalise on a good performance. But I think that's something that's been lacking in Partick Thistle all season, and perhaps why they didn't challenge St Johnstone maybe as well as they could. They lacked the killer instinct in the big games. They didn't do it on Thursday. And then it was a pretty dreadful game last night at the Smiza. They were okay in the first half, but they didn't really have any opportunities. And a terrific second half finish from Marcus Fraser. Coming up in the big moment again, of course, he scored in the cup final earlier in the season. And St Mirren will be a Premiership side next season, Ethan.
Yeah, and credit to them. Congratulations to Craig McLeish and the players, because I think a lot of people, including ourselves, doubted their sort of chances going into this sort of playoff campaign. But that they've survived, and on the face of it, it's been a terrible league season for them. But if you had asked the St Mirren fans whether they would take winning a trophy at the expense of being relegated, I think some of them would have been sorry, I think some of them would have accepted it. Never mind being able to stay in the division, and obviously they'll have to build on this now in order to stay in the Premiership next season, because it's going to be a very competitive campaign again. And whether Craig McLeish is the right man to take them forward is obviously a question which will face the Buddies hierarchy. But as you said, from what I didn't get the chance to watch the full game, but from what I've heard, what I've seen, the highlights, it wasn't an excellent game. And sometimes you can expect that in matches of this magnitude. It was a one-off game pretty much after how the first leg played out, and so much nerves, I'd imagine, in both sets of players. And ultimately, in the end, it was an excellent goal, which won the game. A really nice finish from Fraser, and I completely agree with you. It feels like maybe, well, of course, it feels like a missed opportunity for Partick Thistle, but with how both legs have played out, I think that they could maybe make the case that they were the better side across the two games. But that ultimately doesn't matter, because St Mirren have came away with the victory overall, and that's the main thing. And it was a similar story to when they actually played in the Scottish Cup earlier in the season, when at St Mirren Park again, when St Mirren won 2-1, I think it was, if memory serves correct, and there was a few dubious decisions which went the home side's way, I'll say. And Partick Thistle felt really aggrieved by that and how they had played, and they felt they should have had more from the game. And it feels the same story again here. So probably an even more tough one for Mark Wilson and his players to take, based off those matches and how well they've played across the course of the season. So really unlucky for Partick Thistle again, and it feels like we're always saying this when it comes to the Jags so many times in recent seasons. They've got to the latter stages of the playoffs and just fell short. But as I said, credit to St Mirren. They win by the finest of margins, and sometimes that's what football's about. So yeah, it did feel like McLeish's side had the advantage after the first leg, going to Firhill and getting away with the draw. Obviously, Killian Phillips helping to score him the really nice finish, actually, the Trivela through the legs of Lee Ashcroft. And we're not going to be the celebration police this time around. We obviously were for that goal and celebration against his former club Aberdeen at Pittodrie. But credit to Thistle, they came back into the game and found an equaliser, and a goal that I really enjoyed from a sort of attacking point of view. Good work down the right from Tony Watt. Awful defending from St Mirren, you've got to say, to allow, I think it was Richard King who got left in a sort of 1v2 at the back post, and I think it was Patrick Redding, the left back, who makes the run to the front post, dragging King away, and then Aidan Fitzpatrick is on hand for an open goal. Really intelligent from the full back, and a really well taken goal from Thistle. And then they obviously had chances at the end of that game, had chances at the start of the second leg, but St Mirren held their nerve and got that goal in the second half and Paisley when it mattered.
Yeah, they did, but now it's concluded, and it's two big summers for them. I think Partick Thistle, if they can build and sign some important players, I think they could have a real shot at coming up automatically. St Mirren, on the other hand, have a massive summer ahead. They need a new manager. They need a number of new players, loads of players running out of contract. It looks like O'Hara might be heading up north with his former boss, Stephen Robinson. So, yeah, it's a big summer for both sides. Partick Thistle looking to push that extra mile and come up automatically. St Mirren need a big summer in order for survival.
So you're not having. I think you've made your opinions clear. You're not having Craig McLeish's the next
No, come
permanent
on.
manager, this and that. He backs himself. I think he still wants the job, and he has.
None of the fans want him.
Yeah, I know that, but that's not always how football works. But no, I do agree. I think they do need something fresh in there. And credit to him for the job that he's done over, because he came into a team that let's not get it wrong or get it mistaken here. They weren't playing well under Stephen Robinson when he left them, and they were in a rut. And he turned it around briefly, and then it went back to sort of how it was under the previous manager. But ultimately, as we said, it'll be all forgotten because St Mirren have stayed in the Premiership for one more season, 8 now consecutively in the top flight since they won the Championship in the season that Partick Thistle actually went down. So now 8 seasons in the lower tiers for Partick Thistle, including a stint in League One, which I actually forgot about, which is crazy for a club the size of Partick Thistle. But
They've also now failed to come up in the playoffs 6 times.
yeah, yeah, that's it. And it feels like the same old story for them. And really, they were on a good run going into this game. The last defeat actually was the Scottish Cup game at St Mirren. So yeah, and really unfortunate for Mark Wilson and Alex Rae and those players. But I think they'll pick themselves up. And as you said, if they recruit well in the summer and add to what they've already got, they'll certainly be in with a run
Yeah,
and be in with a running with promotion again.
and if they take on the approach of actually sort of signing players they need instead of the Livy scattergun approach, which appears to be signing everyone who's out of contract at the moment, I think Partick Thistle could have a real chance of going up automatically next campaign. Um, so that'll do it for our playoff recap. Now it's time to talk about the SWPL. We haven't really covered that at all this season. We maybe spoke about it here and there, but it was a big final day. Hibs played Hearts, Glasgow City played Rangers. If Hearts lost and Rangers won, Rangers would have been crowned champions. Any other sort of result for Rangers other than a win would mean that Hearts were champions of the SWPL. And Hibs did manage to beat Hearts 2-0, I think the final score was. And, from the outside looking in, you're thinking, oh, the Rangers do it. No, they lost 6-0 to Glasgow City. An awful showing from the Rangers side. And yeah, the ladies doing it like the men, just bottling the league. So yeah, and Hearts did get their league title. Massive congratulations to them. Fantastic season. But yeah, diabolical losing like that in a must-win game, Ethan.
Yeah, it was really disappointing for Rangers, and a really disappointing end, like you referenced to, for the club as a whole. And I think we've obviously had the delight of singing the praises of the Scottish men's game this year, but I think the women's game's been excellent now for a number of years. I believe that's 5 different league winners in 5 seasons, because obviously Hibs won it last season. I believe it was Rangers the season before, Glasgow City the season before that, possibly, or maybe it was Celtic, but it was certainly, I think, all three of the what you would previously call the big three clubs in the SWPL, and now Hearts and Hibs have put themselves right in amongst that based off their performances over the last 2 seasons. So yeah, credit to Hearts. Obviously, they would have wanted a more convincing final day against Hibs, but they get the job done in the end, and that's the main thing. And credit to them. And Eva Olid, the Spanish coach, who is now going to leave Hearts for a free and go on to pastures new. But an excellent job she's done, and a final send off for the club. And yeah, the other interesting thing from the final day was that, of course, James and Alan Forrest's brother, Lisa Forrest, scored a hat trick for Glasgow City against Rangers. So
I
yeah,
did. I didn't realise she played football.
yeah, no, I didn't realise until quite recently, but I think she's been really good this season. So
Talented family, eh?
yeah, I know. Obviously, you would think with James's career that'd be enough talent, but Alan's obviously been really unfortunate this season to come so close to the title, and then Lisa Forrest made big inroads, sorry, to being one of the best players in the
I think
SWPL. So
James think Jamesy was messaging his brother, taking the mick at him after they beat them.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that would have
I'd
been
do
a.
I'd do that to my brother.
I don't think if I think family dinner next time they get together might be a little bit of an awkward one, to say the least. But you know, at least one of the Forests is helped Hearts win the league. So yeah,
Oh, that was such a backhanded sort of compliment. That was at least one of the
oh
forests
no,
actually
no,
did
because I
something.
was no, that was not how it was intended. Because James Forrest obviously helped Celtic beat Hearts. That was the way I was thinking of it.
Yeah, and Alan did nothing. Fraud. But
Well,
anyway,
Alan, to be fair, Alan didn't play the biggest part in Hearts' season by any means, but obviously he was called upon in the final day. And you said that, and I think I would maybe agree, despite Hearts fans being quite frustrated that Derek McInnes chose to go with that substitution, that he was one of the better subs to come on, maybe not the worst compared to Claudio Braga. So, yeah, he's obviously had a decent career, Alan Forrest. I mean, as a you can't really get a close to. You're always going to be in the shadow when your brother's James Forrest in terms of Scottish football. So, yeah, no, as you touched on at the start, a really impressive family of footballers, and good luck to them for next season because I'm sure they'll all be going for the title again.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now moving on to just some transfer chat, managerial chat. I think firstly we'll start with Motherwell. Jens Bertholascu has departed the club and gone to Toulouse in France. Big blow for them, and it'll be interesting to see who they go for next.
Yeah, it will be. I think it's obvious that Celtic maybe didn't want to go there with Jens Bertholascu. I'm not sure why, but you would believe that they'd probably have tried to go
Well, actually, on the SD, apparently on the S, sorry, Ethan, apparently on the STV Radio Football Show, they met with him and weren't impressed.
Oh, yeah, well, that is one thing. I think I've also seen things saying that Jens Bertholascu didn't want to be a part of Celtic's sort of future plans and stuff like that. So, you know, all these rumours are going to be going about. But I think it may be one that Celtic will live to regret, and obviously they'll have to look elsewhere, whether that that man to lead them forwards in the club already is a question on, I think, everybody's lips. Robbie Keane obviously left his post at Ferencváros after failing to guide them to another Hungarian championship, and he has been listed as one of the front runners for a while now. But if I have to give my own opinion, I think it will be Mr. O'Neill who's in charge next season. I just think the job he's done um, since he's been here
I don't
ridiculous. But
know.
you don't think so?
No, I don't think. I think they'll go another way. I think
Yeah.
O'Neill, he's come in,
Aye.
he's done the job, he's done the job required of him. But I think they'll go another way. I don't think he'll. Although it has come out, he is on the short list of managerial candidates. But I don't know. Um, Also, it's down to him as well because, like I said, after they win the league, it looks like he needs his bed.
But
But
you know that's what the holidays are for, you know, to rest up. And yeah, I'm not I think the only thing is with Martin O'Neill is that the for the future. You know, he's not someone you're bringing in planning for the future. Recruitment's going to be a little bit strange around him because you don't know how long he's going to be there, and unless of course you were to sign him for a season. But then again, what are you bringing players in for a season just to bring in another manager that maybe like Wilfred Nancy has completely sort of alienated ideas compared to Martin O'Neill and Sean Maloney and how to play football. So that is a strange one. But I'm not. I don't think Martin O'Neill's short of energy or sort of enthusiasm to be the Celtic manager. But I think it's always going to be a strange one to you're sort of writing off a season of getting you're postponing getting a long term manager in. And the thing that I'll bring up is Celtic have had months to get a manager in place for the start of the next season, and they haven't done it yet, it appears. So it seems like, and I know it's not easy. It's not easy to get a manager when the season's running. Of course, it's not. But yeah, it just seems like again, and tell me if I'm being out of line or going over the top here, that Celtic aren't planning um, too much in advance. And
No, I don't think so. See, because they've done the League and Cup again, the board will just be happy. You know,
the rest on the laurels, possibly. But
yeah.
no, I'm not gonna sit here and give Celtic stick at the moment, because obviously it should be a time of celebration. But I hope you and the viewers understand the point I'm trying to make. But no, I do think it'll be Martin O'Neill in charge next season, alongside Sean Maloney and the coaching staff again. The other possible one that's been floated about quite often is Roberto Martinez, obviously current Portugal manager. His post looks like it'll be ending there post World Cup, unless maybe he does so well that he gets the job, gets a contract extension or whatever. Worked with Sean Maloney before, of course, as a player and as a coach. But then again, you're probably looking at him coming in mid-July after the World Cup, and he's taking his break and stuff like that. So that's not really getting somebody in, considering what the Scottish Premiership season, I imagine, starts at the end of July, early August, and you've got Champions League playoff qualifiers to play. So, it's a big couple of weeks for Celtic. The job is done for this season, but as we know, football never rests.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be interesting to see who they'll go with. There's also some sort of transfer news around Celtic. Looks like Marcelo Saracchi will not be on his way back to the club. It looks like Boca Juniors want to keep him for the remainder of their campaign. Of course, Argentina playing a different calendar than Scotland and some other obviously European clubs. MLS, I think Scandinavian leagues and South American leagues play on their year calendar rather than their season ended in summer. Yeah, and just to finish off, I think the big news of the week in Scottish football, Ethan, Lawrence Shankland looks to be a new Rangers player. I'm just going to say, I'm absolutely buzzing with this. I think this is already signing of the summer. Genuinely. Imagine him up top with Yusuf Chermiti. Dangerous combination.
No, it's an excellent bit of business this early on in the transfer window for Rangers, and yeah, it very well could be the signing of the summer already. And I think a lot of Rangers fans that I've spoke to are delighted with it, but they're also sort of saying, well, why now? Why couldn't we have done it last season or the season before? And I think that it's something that Rangers have lived to regret. I spoke about regrets earlier with Celtic, but that doesn't mean that Shanklin can't come in and contribute to Rangers winning the league title next year. And Rangers look the busiest out of the three clubs at the minute. Maybe that's because they need to be the busiest. I wouldn't totally agree with that, considering Celtic don't have a manager and they have a lot of loan players like Sarachi who won't be returning. But no, it's an excellent start for Rangers, and that looks to be announced in the coming days. I think people are questioning Hearts' sort of position on this. Why
Yeah, I was just going to
this
say
wants to happen?
before we leave off, when Shankland signed his contract extension last season, Hearts said he'd signed a 3-year deal, when in fact it was a 1-year deal with an option in the contract if he wanted to extend for a further 2, or he could opt out. And he's opted out, and Rangers are getting potentially the best player in the league. If not, he's up there. Definitely, I'd say the best striker in the league. I get you in terms of ability, you could argue Ian Atchell, but I don't think he's played enough to put him up there with Shanklin. So probably one of the best players in the league, the best striker in the league on a free. Hearts fans must be raging.
Yeah, but at the same time, people criticise Hearts, but the sort of the ball wasn't in their court when it came to re-signing Shanklin. Shanklin never wanted to be a Hearts player anymore, and Derek McInnes looked like he convinced him to be one. And the cost that comes with that is that Shanklin obviously gets a big say on the terms, and the terms that he wanted was that he signs for a season and then he gets to choose whether he sort of goes elsewhere, and obviously that's what he's chosen to do. And I think Hearts will be really disappointed. Of course, they will be, and I think a lot of Hearts fans will feel like it's difficult to sort of see him go to one of their sort of fellow title contenders after what he's contributed this season and what he's been a part of. And you understand that, but unfortunately for the Jambos, football is business, and Lawrence Shanklin, obviously, as we know, as a Rangers fan, I think, and his dream probably at some point in his life was to play for Rangers, and now it's been presented to him, and you can't blame him for going there. And it's an excellent signing for Danny Rule, who was quoted saying that what was it, around something like he needed leaders in that squad. Well, I think Lawrence Shanklin's certainly one of them, and he's
Yeah.
that sort of crop of players that a lot of Rangers fans always talk about. Get it. He's someone who gets it and could possibly be the difference and leading Rangers to the first league title in five years. Obviously since the COVID season. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's an excellent signing, and I think people are even sort of asking the question: does he come in and be the captain immediately? And it's certainly a debate to be had because obviously James Tavernier
Why not?
is away.
Yeah, why not? Why not indeed? So that'll do it for the Scottish football chat. Just before we finish off, obviously the biggest game in football is happening on Saturday. PSG versus Arsenal, the Champions League final. Ethan, we'll give our predictions and then we'll finish off our 100th episode.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say the biggest game in world football, Scotland v Curacao. Um, um, No, I think it's hard to see past the Parisians. I've got to say they've had a lot of sort of resting since they wrapped up the league title, and I think they have looked the best team in the world this season. Yet again, possibly even better than last season. I think they've showed different sides to them, especially in the second leg at the Allianz, and I think they will have too much for Mikel Arteta's side. Congratulations to him. As regrettably as I say it, not because he's a former Rangers player, but because of the manner in which Arsenal have won the league this season. I think a lot of people agree with me on that. I think Arsenal will make it a close game, but I think PSG will prevail. I am going to go with a 2-0 win for the Parisians. So they are the holders and back-to-back winners. So there you go. That's my prediction.
I am going to go same goal deficit, but I'm going to back Arsenal to score a goal, but I'm going to back PSG to score 3. I'm going to go with a 3-1 win for Paris Saint-Germain. Please save football. We don't want to see any more Arsenal fans on social media. But that'll do it for our 100th episode. Thank you to everyone for sticking with us throughout the campaign. Obviously, we will be back covering transfer news, Scotland winning the World Cup, standard stuff. So yeah, thank you to everyone for watching and listening. The TikTok's back with news and a new style of video as well, so make sure to go check out that. Thank you to Ethan for joining me for the whole of the campaign. See you guys next time. Goodbye.